On the day the Pei family was raided, the princess ordered Pei Zai's hands crushed, forbidding him ever to hold a brush again. Yet after leveraging my family's influence to become regent, wielding power over court and country, he kept her hidden away in a golden chamber, never allowing her to leave his side. Whenever I voiced my doubts, he would coldly reply, "Nua, you don't understand. I've hated her for so many years, making her remain unmarried for life, robbing her of her freedom. That is the best revenge I can exact." It wasn't until I was kidnapped by his political enemies and perished amidst the chaos of the palace coup. He and she ascended to power together. Only then did I realize she had always been the bright moon in his heart. When I reopened my eyes, reborn back to the day the Pei family was raided, just as Song Qinghuan commanded the imperial guards to block Pei Zai's path. Passing by the Pei residence, I casually swallowed a sweet pastry, my mood exceptionally cheerful. No one knew how delightful Pei Zai's screams of agony from his broken bones sounded. "Miss, the emperor's verdict has arrived. The Pei family is to be punished by forced copying today. The princess is personally heading there to teach young Master Pei a lesson. Shall we go see young Master Pei? Perhaps plead for mercy on his behalf?" Shuanglu reminded me, her voice thick with concern. A wave of tremors washed over my heart, and I couldn't suppress a laugh. "Miss!" Seeing me weep and laugh in turn, Shuanglu cried out in alarm. I suppressed the wild joy in my heart and wiped the tears from my eyes. "Shuanglu, are my mother and father well? Miss, what on earth is wrong with you? The general and lady are still safe and sound in Nan'an City." I gripped her wrist tightly, pressing urgently, "Then what of my brother?" Frostdew looked puzzled. My face had turned frighteningly pale, and she murmured in alarm, "The young general commands Nan'an City. Last night, the mansion received a letter from him confirming his safety." "Good. Since I have been reborn, this time, that damned Pei Zai will surely receive his just punishment." "Miss, you seem unwell. Should we still go meet young Master Pei?" I regained my composure and declared firmly, "We go. Not only do we go, but we go to fan the flames, to make the fire burning in the princess's heart blaze ever brighter." Pei Zai and I were childhood sweethearts. Half a year ago, he entered the palace to attend Princess Song Qinghuan's birthday banquet. At the grand banquet, the princess unveiled a painting for all to admire, inviting Pei Zai, renowned for his scholarly brilliance, to appraise it. Perhaps seeking her attention, Pei Zai, after his appraisal, had the audacity to offer to teach her painting himself. But he didn't know this painting was Song Qinghuan's own work. To brazenly offer to teach her painting was nothing short of a veiled insult to her skill. Accustomed to adulation, Song Qinghuan could not tolerate such remarks. Her pride wounded, she concealed her humiliation for the time being, relying on the Pei family's formidable influence. Today, upon learning the Pei family had been confiscated for crimes, Song Qinghuan immediately rushed here with her guards. In my past life, remembering that Pei Zai and I were childhood sweethearts, I begged father to secretly rescue him to the border city, hoping to guide him back onto the right path. Little did I know it would bring ruin upon my entire family. In my past life, after the young emperor ascended the throne and Pei Zai became regent, he initially feared my family's influence. He feigned kindness toward me while secretly pampering Song Qinghuan in his private estate. When I discovered this, he looked at Song Qinghuan with utter disgust and said, "Nua, you don't understand. I've hated her for so many years, making her remain unmarried for life, robbing her of freedom. That is the best revenge." Yet the revenge he spoke of was nothing but hiding his mistress in a golden house, building that mansion with gilded splendor and extravagant luxury. Song Qinghuan's food, clothing, and daily necessities were even better than those in the palace. When I sensed something was amiss and sought to divorce him to return to my parents, his true nature was laid bare. He whispered treasonous accusations into the young emperor's ear, framing my family for collaboration with the enemy. My entire family was beheaded and displayed in public, dying horribly on the snow-covered streets. Pity my mother, who spent half her life with my father in the bitter cold of Nanan City. Pity my father, whose lifelong loyalty ended by the blades of the very nation he served most devotedly. Pity my brother and sister-in-law, subjected to public scorn and abuse, their unborn child never seeing the world before dying in the womb. Mad with grief, I tried to beat the drum of injustice, but Song Qinghuan's men barred me from leaving the mansion. They let me kneel and weep until my tears ran red, while Pei Zhe remained utterly indifferent. But without my family's protection, what good is Pei Zhe's title as regent? As political turmoil erupted in court, his rivals kidnapped me to blackmail him. He merely laughed. Can the daughter of a traitor compare to the imperial throne? She should have been damned to hell alongside the Lin family long ago. Now we've cleared a spot for Her Highness the Princess. She should be the Empress, setting the standard for all women. Only then did I realize Song Qinghuan had always been the pure moonlight in his heart. And I, this troublesome childhood sweetheart, deserved to die amidst the chaos of a palace coup, to clear the path for him and Song Qinghuan to rule the realm together. Thankfully, heaven took pity and granted me a chance to start anew. They slaughtered my entire family, forcing me to a miserable death. This lifetime, having crawled out of hell, I vow to have them dismembered and torn to pieces. Shuanglu and I arrived together at the Pei family's gates. Father Pei held the rank of first-class minister. Upon reaching adulthood, Pei Zhe was crowned the incarnation of the literary star, adored by all the women in the capital, his glory boundless. Now, facing the confiscation of his entire estate, the capital's citizens gathered to witness the spectacle of Lord Pei's downfall. Sighing with pity, Pei Zhe stood speechless. His shoulders slumped slightly, a dull shadow flickering in his icy eyes. His thin lips pressed tightly together. He looked utterly defeated, as if struck by a devastating blow. The imperial guards tore down the Pei family's door plaque and tossed it aside. Young miss, why did Magistrate Pei have to suffer this? Years of grueling study, only to meet such an end. Shuanglu had been with me since childhood and knew everything about Pei Zhe. Pei Zhe and I attended the same academy, studying under the same master. He pored over books day and night, his most frequent words being, "Nua nua. I want to be a good official like your father, protecting the common people." The memory abruptly ended, a chill spreading through my heart. His suffering wasn't over yet, this was only the beginning. Before the imperial guards took him away, Pei Zhe saw me. His face lit up with joy as he cried out excitedly, "Lin Nua." He strained against the guards, struggling desperately to reach me. "Nua Nua. Help me. Help the Pei family. If only your father, General Lin, would speak a word for us before the emperor, the Pei family might be spared exile." His eyes burned with desperate plea as he stammered. Flustered, "Surely you wouldn't want to see me cast out onto the streets." I gave a cold, hollow laugh and pulled my hands back expressionlessly. The light in his eyes dimmed. Before he could say more, a lavish, gilded carriage pulled up before the Pei residence. A radiant young woman stepped down. Her eyes flashed with arrogance as she narrowed them, her cold gaze sweeping over me and Pei Zhe. "Let this be known, whoever dares intercede for Pei Zhe will be opposing me, and my mother, the Empress." Song Qinghuan was the Empress's only daughter, the Emperor's most cherished princess. Spoiled and willful, her word alone could decide a person's fate. At her appearance, those present hastily knelt in salute. I bowed sideways, my gaze fixed on Song Qinghuan. In that instant, a scene from my past life flashed through my mind. Song Qinghuan lay in the hammock Pei Zhe had woven for her with his own hands. Her robes half open, her alluring gaze brimming with smug satisfaction. She said to me, surprised, "Aren't you? Brother Zhe has always loved me most. To spare your entire Lin family from death?" All it takes is a whisper in his ear. And it's done. What good is being his legitimate wife? In the end, you endure his scorn and become the capital's greatest laughingstock. I clenched my fists, suppressing the chaos in my mind, and offered Song Qinghuan a gentle smile. This humble maiden, Lin Nuo, never intended to plead for magistrate pay. I hope your highness will not take offense. At my words, Song Qinghuan snorted coldly, good for you knowing your place. Without delay, she gave the order, and the imperial guards accompanying her immediately seized Pei Zhe, pinning him to the ground. Pei Zhe's face was deathly pale, yet his bloodshot eyes widened in intense shock as he stared at me in disbelief. Nuo, why? Why won't you help me? I lowered my head and murmured, I dare not offend the princess. Besides, I know you excel at poetry and painting, and your calligraphy is renowned throughout the capital. If the princess were to see your writing, she might forgive you or even intercede on your behalf. For the first decade of his life, Pei Zhe devoted himself entirely to his studies. Calling him a bookworm would be no exaggeration. It wasn't until later, when my father personally trained him, that he transformed into the resourceful regent prince. So I took the chance to hint that he should continue writing in front of Song Qinghuan, letting her be utterly captivated by his talent and charm. Pei Zhe's eyes flashed. As if struck by a brilliant plan, he exclaimed excitedly, Princess, I have never deceived you. I truly possess exquisite calligraphy and masterful painting skills. Song Qinghuan sneered coldly, very well. Since Minister Pei is so accomplished, let this princess see for herself. Before long, servants placed brush and ink before Pei Zhe. Overwhelmed with excitement, he spread the white paper and began painting. He believed this was his golden opportunity to turn the tables. Little did he know the real show was yet to come. The moment Pei Zhe finished his final stroke and set down his brush, Song Qinghuan's face lit up with admiration, her lips forming a series of appreciative murmurs. This painting truly captures my heart. And your hands, Pei Lang, have won my affection. Hearing this, Pei Zhe's eyes brightened, a faint glow of joy spreading across his usually icy features. Your Highness's approval is this servant's greatest honor. He then poured even more effort into his painting, gripping the black brush handle tightly. He deliberately exposed his left hand, with its sharply defined knuckles, before Song Qinghuan, hoping to captivate her completely. But he didn't know that Song Qinghuan, who hadn't yet reached the age of coming of age, had been influenced by the crown prince during her childhood. Deep down, she was a sadist who delighted in tormenting palace maids and eunuchs, and dismembering parrots. And she had a fetish for hands. Her favorite pastime was using a small hammer to crush people's finger bones, which she collected in her studio. Ha! Pei Zhe, in your past life, you schemed relentlessly to become regent, even if you eventually donned the imperial robe and ascended the throne. So what? This lifetime, I'll make you witness how your beloved white moonlight personally shatters your path to glory. Song Qinghuan's gaze hardened into pure malice. She twisted her lips into a cold, mocking smile. Attendants! Bring this princess her molten core hammer. Pei Zhe's face flashed panic as he stared at her in bewilderment. But before he could speak, the imperial guards seized his wrists. No, princess. I've done nothing wrong. Please enlighten me. It was too late for words now. Song Qinghuan tightened her grip on the hammer and brought it down with brutal force. The blow shattered the bones of Pei Zhe's little finger. A piercing scream rent the sky. Cold sweat instantly beaded on Pei Zhe's forehead as his eyes turned bloodshot. His once clear gaze hardened into something cold and vicious, his fingers clenching into a fist. At that moment, Pei Zhe's gaze locked directly onto mine. In that instant, the terrifying memories of my past life crashed over me like a tidal wave. My breath hitched, and I nearly lost my footing. Pei Zhe's eyes had changed. I clenched my fingers tightly, suppressing the shock and doubt welling up inside me. Seeing his agonized expression, Song Qinghuan's lips curled upward into a satisfied smile. She relished the sound of people's heart-wrenching screams. It brought her a sense of relief. Thus, she raised the flowing heart hammer once more, intending to strike another knuckle. The instant her hand rose, Pei Zhe's pupils contracted sharply. He growled low, "Hold." I furrowed my brow, silently observing the shifting expressions on Pei Zhe's face. Pei Zhe slowly lifted his head, his crimson eyes locked onto Song Qinghuan's, meeting her gaze with unflinching calm. "Princess, these hands of mine possess great skill. I can permanently remove birthmarks. Might you require such a service?" Each of Pei Zhe's words carried a hint of probing, yet within that probing lay a trace of certainty. Song Qinghuan bore a small red birthmark at the corner of her eye. She always concealed it beneath thick layers of makeup, ensuring no outsider could see it. In secret, she had spent vast sums seeking the world's greatest physicians, hoping to erase the birthmark with medicine, yet every attempt had failed. In this moment, my suspicions were confirmed. Pei Zhe was like me. He too had been reborn. At this thought, Song Qinghuan's expression darkened. Her hand instinctively reached for the corner of her eye. Sensing the scrutinizing gazes around her, she quickly withdrew it. Her face grew even paler than before. Clenching her fists, her eyes flashed with icy murderous intent. "Strike now!" The Imperial guards instantly understood her intent. With a swift motion, blades gleamed from their waists, their tips pressing against Pei Zhe's throat. Pei Zhe remained utterly composed, showing no panic. His aura was stronger than before, even his gaze carrying a commanding presence. "Princess, if you kill me, you'll never find a skilled physician." Hearing this, Song Qinghuan's expression turned urgent. She pressed impatiently. "How could you possibly know?" Before she could finish, Song Qinghuan abruptly fell silent. Pei Zhe, however, remained unflappable. He bowed his head, his tone sincere to the extreme. "As a child, I once accompanied my father to the palace and had the honor of catching a glimpse of your highness." Liar! Pei Zhe was clearly lying. In his previous life, Pei Zhe had kept Song Qinghuan in his private residence before discovering the red birthmark on her face. He deceived me, claiming it was to help a crucial advisor, forcing me to stay up late developing an ointment to remove the birthmark. He was a hypocrite, full of lies. "Very well. This princess commands you to present your so-called formula within 3 days. If it proves as you claim, I shall personally plead for the Pei family before His Majesty." Hearing this, Pei Zhe silently breathed a sigh of relief. This servant shall not disappoint the princess's trust. Song Qinghuan snorted coldly, then stepped into the carriage with the support of her maidservant. Before departing, the princess warned Pei Zhe once more. "If you break your word, the consequences will be far worse than nearly losing your hands." As soon as the princess left, the gathered crowd dispersed in an instant. Pei Zhe knelt on one knee, gritting his teeth against the searing pain as he struggled to his feet. I glanced at Xuanlu and turned to leave. "Lin Nuo," Pei Zhe called out, halting my steps. He stumbled forward, blocking my path. "Nuo Nuo, you must have a way to cure the princess's birthmark, right?" I narrowed my eyes as a plan formed in my mind. A brilliant plan that would kill 2 birds with 1 stone formed in my mind. I would make Pei Zhe sacrifice everything, the entire Pei family fortune, to atone for his sins. "You've practiced medicine with the old healer for years. You can surely cure the princess. Lin Nuo, we grew up together. You'll save me, won't you? Save the Pei family?" I tugged at the corners of my lips, forcing a smile. "I can save the princess, but her birthmark is innate and difficult to eradicate completely. Using potent medicines might cause side effects. Hearing this, Paisei immediately smiled. His expression relaxed, completely dismissive of the side effects I mentioned. He must think I'm trying to scare him. After all, in my past life, I devoted myself to saving lives, and my prescriptions never failed. Nua, I trust your medical skill. But he didn't know that this time, I had been reborn. Drawing on memories from my past life, I began researching the ointment formula. I added potent herbs to the ointment, herbs that could cause skin redness, swelling, and itching. Initial application would be harmless, but if applied liberally, the herbs would seep deep into flesh and bone, rendering the side effects irreversible. This was akin to a deadly poison. The princess held immense power and influence, while I was merely the daughter of a general. I couldn't take on the princess alone, so I decided to use Paisei's hand to deal with her. But I also knew that once the poison took effect on the princess's face, a scheming villain like Paisei would certainly not spare me. Even if the princess sought revenge from him, Paisei would drag me into sharing the blame. By then, I'd be utterly without excuse. Thus, I had to prepare for both possibilities. I locked myself in the medicine room for 3 full days, creating the illusion of wholehearted dedication to Paisei. On the 3rd day, I took the prepared ointment and placed it in my palm. Paisei reached out to take it, but I dodged his grasp. Paisei, I can give you the ointment, I said, but will you take me to the palace with you? To avoid arousing his suspicion, I added, I've never been inside the palace in my life. My father has always stayed in Nanan City and rarely returns to the capital. Even when he does come back, he never brings me along. I've always wanted to see the imperial palace. He was now far more suspicious and cautious than before. A hint of doubt flickered in his eyes. Perhaps I feigned innocence too convincingly. Or perhaps he simply needed the ointment and had no choice but to concede. Paisei agreed to let me accompany him to deliver the medicine to the palace. But once inside, he only allowed me to wait outside, forbidding me from joining him in the garden to see the princess. I knew his intentions. He wanted to reap all the benefits alone. After all, curing the princess would not only earn him merit but also win her favor. I pretended to be oblivious, letting him arrange everything as he pleased. But the moment he left, I followed my past life memories to the Hall of Supreme Harmony, where the Empress Dowager often stayed. In my previous life, after Paisei became regent prince, he frequently roamed the palace grounds. As his lawful wife, I too often appeared within the palace walls. So I knew the paths well. I feigned a chance encounter with the Empress Dowager, who was admiring peonies outside the hall. She coughed violently, her chest heaving as she covered her mouth and nose with a handkerchief, coughing incessantly. This was clearly a bout of her chronic cough. Suddenly, her cheeks flushed crimson as she coughed, her entire body shaking. The Empress Dowager lost her balance, swaying precariously. The palace maids and eunuchs around her fell into chaos. Quick! Summon the imperial physicians. A eunuch scrambled off toward the Imperial Medical Bureau. The Empress Dowager nearly collapsed, but was caught by her personal matron. I hurried forward. The matron by her side immediately blocked my path. Who are you? How dare you intrude upon the Hall of Supreme Harmony? Seize her at once. At the matron's command, nearby guards immediately advanced toward me. I hastily declared my identity, Your Majesty. I am Lin Nua, daughter of General Lin Wei, who commands the garrison at Nanan City. My gaze fixed on the Empress Dowager, who was on the verge of unconsciousness. I quickly drew my silver needles. As a healer, I always carry silver needles in my sleeves. Besides, I had come prepared this time. Having studied medicine since childhood under my grandmother, I possess some knowledge of medical arts. Might I examine the Empress Dowager's cough? Suspicion flickered across the Empress Dowager's face. She coughed violently, blood staining her handkerchief. The matron gasped in alarm, urging, "Useless fools! Where are the imperial physicians?" My heart sank. This cough had likely afflicted her for years. The Empress Dowager pointed at me with trembling hands. "Let her try." I followed the group of maids into the hall, took her pulse, and administered acupuncture. This could only provide relief, not a complete cure. I helped alleviate her chest discomfort and oxygen deprivation caused by the cough, allowing the Empress Dowager to gradually regain her strength. As her condition slowly improved, her expression softened. "This acupuncture truly leaves me feeling light as a feather," she remarked. "You are indeed Lin Wei's daughter. I recognized you at once. Your eyes and brow bear such a striking resemblance to General Lin. No wonder the Empress Dowager had consented to my treatment. This cough stems from an old ailment from your youth. Should I have the chance to return, I could bring a formula to at least ease your discomfort." Hearing this, the Empress Dowager's brows lifted in a smile, her eyes and features radiating the grace of her youth. In my memory, the Empress Dowager passed away after the old emperor's death. Her health had always been fragile, and the profound grief of old age ultimately took her, following the old emperor in death. Calculating the timing, I seized the moment to arrange a date with the Empress Dowager. After all, I had saved her life, and she now held me in the highest regard. After leaving the Hall of Supreme Harmony, I went straight to find Pei. Before I even approached the Imperial Garden, I heard Princess Song Qinghuan's commanding voice. "I give you 7 days. If there's no effect within this week, I will take your life and make your entire Pei family pay with theirs." I tugged at the corner of my lips, letting a faint smile escape. A quick calculation told me 7 days weren't necessary. 3 or 4 days would suffice. "Just you wait." Pei Zhe. Back at the manor, I immersed myself in medical texts, diligently researching herbal remedies for cough ailments. I formulated a prescription to alleviate the cough, folded it neatly, and tucked it into my sleeve. Now I'd wait for Pei Zhe to come storming in. It wasn't until late on the 4th night. Shuanglu knocked on my door and entered. "Miss, when did you offend young Master Pei? He's been pounding on the door for ages, demanding to see you." Shuanglu addressed me while grumbling. "I've told him several times to go home. Our young mistress is still an unmarried maiden. How could she possibly go out to meet him? How thoughtful of you to consider me so." Shuanglu. "It's fine. What harm could a meeting do? After all, I've waited so long for Pei Zhe. This day has finally come." I had Pei Zhe wait for me in the guest room. The moment I entered, Pei Zhe's face was dark, his expression holding back surging anger. He turned away, coldly presenting his back to me. I sipped my tea unhurriedly, having long anticipated his purpose in coming here. Something must have happened to the princess. During my last visit to the palace, I bribed someone close to her. Just now, word came that the princess's face was unbearably itchy. She'd scratched it until it bled. Pei Zhe whipped around, his handsome face now etched with anxiety. He suppressed his emotions, asking in a low voice, "Is there something wrong with your prescription?" It seemed he wasn't entirely foolish after all, having long been prepared by planting spies around Song Qinghuan. Should any mishap occur, it would buy Pei Zhe time to escape. But how could I let him run? "Mr. Pei, the fact that the princess's face is itching indicates the medicine is taking effect. Don't you trust me?" Of course Pei Zhe trusted me. After all, in my previous life, I'd accidentally cured the birthmark on Song Qinghuan's face completely. "Lin Nua, you truly aren't deceiving me?" I suppressed the curve of my lips, gazing at him with feigned innocence. Pei Zhe gradually dismissed his doubts. Yet he still didn't fully trust me. He ordered me to accompany him to the palace during the day to see Song Qinghuan. Song Qinghuan's meticulously maintained complexion had deteriorated. Early that morning, she summoned Pei Zhe to the palace via the imperial guards. This time, Pei Zhe took the initiative to bring me to see her. In the palace hall, Song Qinghuan charged straight toward him. Before Pei Zhe could speak, she delivered a sharp slap across his face. Smack! The resounding slap echoed through the chamber. Pei Zhe's expression instantly turned dark and icy, radiating a cold, thin chill. You kept insisting the ointment was fine. Yet this princess couldn't sleep a wink every night, itching to scratch my face raw. All because of you. Song Qinghuan trusted Pei Zhe for two reasons. First, he was the eldest son of Minister Pei. Second, she dared not inform the emperor, fearing he would again blame her for being overly suspicious and treating an insignificant ailment. Therefore, she did not have the imperial physician examine her again and applied the ointment directly to her face. Now that complications had arisen, Song Qinghuan had no choice but to seek Pei Zhe. Pei Zhe remained adamant that the ointment was flawless. Your Highness, I swear on my life that the ointment is absolutely correct. This is merely a normal reaction. Endure it, and you shall be cured. Song Qinghuan narrowed her eyes, offering a cold, icy smile. Do you truly believe this princess would still trust you? With that, she glanced at the attendant beside her. The servants immediately summoned the imperial physician. Dr. Fong, please examine the ointment. The milky white ointment revealed nothing at first glance. The physician requested Pei Zhe to write out the prescription for verification. Pei Zhe possessed exceptional sensitivity to text and a prodigious memory. He meticulously transcribed the formula from memory and handed it to the physician. This formula is my own creation. It cannot be flawed. Pei Zhe's confidence made me smile involuntarily. One ingredient in this formula is absolutely forbidden for facial application. Those in the know understand this. Yet, upon reading the prescription, the physician's expression abruptly darkened. Divine shadow grass? He slammed the prescription down and frantically knelt before Song Qinghuan. This sudden kneeling made the smile freeze on Pei Zhe's face. Divine ghost grass must never touch the face. It causes unbearable itching that cannot be cured. Few know its other effect. It causes the face to rot. But the imperial physician was only half correct. When combined with ghost orchid, divine ghost grass becomes intensely corrosive. Applied to the skin, it first causes excruciating itching, then gradually causes the skin to rot. The physician immediately pointed at Pei Zhe, shouting angrily, "How dare you! You attempted to poison the princess." Hearing this, Pei Zhe's expression darkened. His gaze swept across the room, landing on me with a look of cold, vicious hatred. But he had no time to dwell on it. Song Qinghuan touched her cheek, her expression nearing collapse. Her eyes were red, glistening with tears, as she trembled and pointed at Pei Zhe. "Guards! Sever his hands at once." Pei Zhe knelt with a thud, his voice steady and cold. "Princess, I am guilty." He bowed his head, accepting responsibility. "I should not have deceived your highness for personal gain, falsely claiming to possess medical skills. I am merely a scholar. How could I possibly practice medicine? The one truly skilled in medicine and prescribing remedies is General Lin's daughter, Lin Nuo." Very well. Pei Zhe had directly sacrificed me as a scapegoat. But his cleverness backfired. Did he truly believe I came here to be his foolish scapegoat? I turned to bow, glancing at Pei Zhe as I softly retorted, "Though I possess some medical knowledge, I have never assisted young Master Pei. I implore your highness to discern the truth." Song Qinghuan, consumed by rage, couldn't be bothered with our dispute. To her, it made no difference. Cut both their tendons. This princess will see how long they can keep bickering. With that, eunuchs from Song Qinghuan's palace stepped forward and pinned me to the ground. Song Qinghuan drew her liquid-filled hammer and advanced toward me step by step. I calculated the time in my mind, my fingertips slowly tightening. Just as Song Qinghuan was about to strike, a eunuch's cry echoed from the doorway, "The Empress Dowager has arrived." The Empress Dowager was my pillar of support. I knew Pei Zai's character well, he would sacrifice me. So I sought an audience with the Empress Dowager beforehand, forged an alliance with her, and extricated myself from the entire affair. This way, the only one left wounded would be Pei Zai. Seeing me pinned down, the Empress Dowager's displeased gaze fell upon Song Qinghuan. "Qinghuan, release Lin Nuo at once." Though puzzled, Song Qinghuan dared not defy the Empress Dowager's command. Only after releasing me did the Empress Dowager's expression soften. Not long ago, had it not been for Nuo saving this old woman, I'd likely still be confined to bed, unable to breathe the air. I arranged a meeting time with the Empress Dowager and instructed her that if I failed to arrive, she should proceed to Song Qinghuan's palace. Though this action bordered on presumption, I had saved the Empress Dowager and provided a prescription to alleviate her cough. When I produced the prescription, Song Qinghuan's expression darkened. "You wretch! Having failed to harm me, now you dare plot against the Empress Dowager? Have you no desire to live?" Hearing this, I feigned panic, kneeling and presenting the prescription with both hands. This humble servant never intended to harm anyone. If you doubt my sincerity, summon the imperial physician to examine the prescription. Before Song Qinghuan could retort, the Empress Dowager cut her off. "Investigate." The imperial physician hurried forward to examine the prescription. Scrutinizing each herb meticulously, he lost himself in the process, exclaiming sincerely, "Brilliant! Absolutely brilliant!" With each word of praise, Pei Zai's expression darkened further. Every ingredient in this prescription is perfectly proportioned, especially the final two. Not only do they suppress coughing, but they also nourish the lungs. This formula can be used to prepare the medicine. Miss Lin possesses remarkable medical skill, she would never make such an error. The imperial physician's personal verification not only clears me of suspicion but also thrusts Pei Zai into the eye of the storm. Pei Zai's expression shifted, and he hastily denied it. "Lin Nuo, did you do this deliberately? They all know you formulated that ointment. You deliberately pinned the blame on me." I gave a light chuckle, a flicker of confusion in my eyes. "Young Master Pei, who are they? Do you have any evidence?" Of course, Pei Zai had no evidence. Besides Frost Dew, no one else knew. Pei Zai's lips twitched, momentarily speechless. I pressed further, "Since young Master Pei has no proof, why slander me?" Pei Zai was instantly speechless. All signs pointed to him, what more could he say? Empress Dowager Song Qinghuan was furious, her eyes blazing with rage. "Grandmother is unwell. Your imperial son will not blame Miss Lin for today's incident. I shall personally deal with Pei Zai." The Empress Dowager, of course, paid no heed to the son of a convicted minister. She ordered the imperial physician to fetch medicine, clearing her throat twice. Once the Empress Dowager was dismissed, Song Qinghuan's pent-up fury erupted completely. "Pei Zai, you dared to plot against this princess. Guards, sever his hand tendons at once." Song Qinghuan summoned the imperial guards immediately. They seized Pei Zai, pinning him down so he couldn't move. Cold sweat instantly beaded on Pei Zai's forehead. He struggled desperately, but it was futile. A single blow from the club shattered his right hand. His right hand would never lift a brush again. The piercing, bone-chilling pain made Pei Zai roar in fury. "Princess." I smiled softly. Would calling me Song Qinghuan now do any good? "Pei Zai, how does it feel to have your right hand severed by the woman who once cherished you most?" Song Qinghuan is a madwoman. Her torture chamber holds more than just the heart-shattering hammer. Every form of private punishment deserves to be inflicted upon him. The moment the imperial guards severed his tendons, Pei's wretched, agonized wails echoed throughout the entire palace. Alas! No one would come to his rescue. Locked in that torture chamber, as long as this princess remains displeased, he shall live a life worse than death. I will make him beg for life, yet deny him death. And so, Song Qinghuan confined Pei within the torture chamber. Day after day, he endured the agony of boiling needles and lashes. His right hand shattered bone by bone. Tortured beyond endurance, he would faint from pain only to be doused with cold water and roused. Day after day of torment had long since drained Pei of all vitality. He was strapped to the torture device, his hands and feet bound by iron chains. Song Qinghuan appeared before him once more. She carefully pulled her veil over her face, fearful that anyone might glimpse the beauty hidden beneath. Her eyes burned with hatred, her gaze filled with murderous intent as it fixed upon Pei. Do you know how horribly you disfigured my face? She gripped the branding iron, its tip red-hot from repeated dips in glowing coals. Song Qinghuan's maniacal laughter echoed throughout the torture chamber. Every night, I endure the agony on my face, like ants crawling across it. Unbearably itchy and painful. Do you understand? The suffering I endured, you shall suffer too. With that, Song Qinghuan raised the branding iron. The red-hot metal plate was terrifying. Pei's eyes widened instantly. His lips twitched slightly as he explained in a hoarse voice, Qinghuan, it wasn't me. The one who concocted the ointment for you was Lin Nuo. From the very beginning, she's been the one harming both of us. She's been watching us tear each other apart. It's too late to say any of this now. Song Qinghuan refused to listen. Her eyes blazed crimson, brimming with tears. Whoever it is, you deserve to die. With that, she pressed the red-hot iron plate directly onto his face. Pei convulsed in agony, his piercing screams deafening. Ah! Amidst the screams, Song Qinghuan's laughter rang out, bordering on madness. My beauty is ruined. And you won't live either. I'll slaughter your entire family. You didn't know, did you? After exile, I had every last member of Lord Pei's family killed. Tears welled in Pei's eyes, his expression hardening with fury. But now, bound hand and foot, what good was his overwhelming hatred? I couldn't care less about Pei's life or death. I sent a letter to my parents in distant Nan'an City, urging them to return to the capital immediately. The old emperor's passing drew ever closer. When court policies shifted then, if father couldn't make it back in time, he'd inevitably face the same dilemma as in my past life. The Lin family must secure its foothold in the court first. Yet barely 2 days after my letter was sent, father had already returned to the capital. Their arrival filled me with both shock and joy. I rushed to them, throwing my arms around mother and weeping aloud. Thankfully, in this life, mother and the others were still here. You child, you haven't gotten too close to that scoundrel Pei, have you? Hearing father's anxious question, I wiped my tears. Father, rest assured, your daughter will never trust a villain again. Before I could finish, something felt off. I snapped my head up, my stunned gaze shifting from father to mother. You. How dare Pei accuse my Lin family of treason and colluding with the enemy? It's laughable. Father's words instantly made everything clear. So they, like me, had been reborn. Overwhelmed with emotion, I held them tightly and talked for a long time. Father was astonished to learn I too had been reborn and asked me about their lives after their beheading. Father, in my past life, Pei became regent, seizing control of the court. He plotted rebellion, disregarding the people's suffering. He exploited them, enabled corrupt officials to abuse their power for personal gain. and fostered a culture of mutual protection among the elite. The common folk lived in misery. My words caused Father, who had been joyful, to suddenly furrow his brow. Every member of the Lin family frowned, their expressions turning grave. Later, Peizhe ascended the throne and elevated Song Qinghuan to the heavens. Father, if that uneducated young prince becomes emperor again, I fear our Lin family will face the same fate as in the past life. At these words, Father's piercing gaze instantly fixed upon me. He narrowed his eyes. His interrogating stare locked on me. He dismissed everyone else and ushered me into the study. Then, with unwavering resolve, I looked him straight in the eye and declared, "Rebellion." The moment those words left my mouth, Father seized his disciplinary ruler and slammed it hard onto the desk. "Say that again. Once the old emperor dies, chaos will erupt in the court. To alter this fate, only rebellion remains. Kill the new emperor and usher in a new dynasty." I fell to my knees before Father with a thud. "Father, the young prince is but 12. Even if Peizhe cannot rise to become regent, there are countless Peizhes in the court. Who among them wouldn't covet absolute power? Manipulating an emperor whose mind is still immature?" Father flung the ruler aside and roared, "Get out." Father remained in his study for a full day and night. Before he emerged, earth-shattering news reached the palace. The old emperor had passed away from illness, and the empress dowager, overcome with grief, had also died. The young prince was to ascend the throne. Finally, Father emerged, sword in hand, clad in armor, advancing step by step. For years, the old general had defended Nanan City against enemy invasions, not for office, not for a ruler, but for the people, since karmic ties had been forged in a past life. And the ruler failed to rule while common folk suffered. Grief clouded Father's weathered eyes. Choking his voice, he raised his sword high and roared, "Follow me into the palace." Father led hundreds of thousands of elite troops and fierce warriors into the palace. My brother and I fought our way through the inner palace, storming into Song Qinghuan's chambers. Song Qinghuan's face was covered in scars, festering wounds repulsively oozing. She clearly hadn't expected me to appear here. "How dare you, Lin Nuo? You have the audacity to trespass into the princess's chambers? Have you lost your mind?" I pointed my sword at Song Qinghuan's cheek, the tip slowly tracing her face. "So what if I trespassed? You're now a princess of a fallen kingdom, aren't you?" Song Qinghuan refused to believe it. On the brink of collapse, tears the size of beans rolled down her cheeks. She screamed, "And my royal brother, once the new emperor ascends, every member of your Lin family will be executed along with their 9 clans." Calculating the time, Father must have already cleared the scene and seized the imperial seal. "Report." A soldier rushed in from the doorway, kneeling on one knee. "The young prince has passed away. Congratulations, princess." The old emperor's harem struggles had lasted years. Yet he had pitifully few sons. The former crown prince had been murdered. Only the young prince could inherit the throne, but now he too had taken his own life. The Song family was utterly destroyed. Hearing this, Song Qinghuan's eyes burned with grief and fury as tears welled up. "Impossible." My blade slashed across her cheek, blood spattering instantly. "I forgot to tell you, Peizhe was right." I thrust my sword forward again, blood dripping onto my fingertips. I wiped it off calmly, smiling faintly. The ointment was my own concoction. Song Qinghuan's eyes widened, her lips trembling as she collapsed weakly to the ground. I couldn't be bothered to spare her another glance, shouting instead, "Welcome, Princess Bintian." Soon, my brother dragged Peizhe out of the torture chamber, looking as if he were dead. He had been tortured until his skin was torn open, his flesh mangled and bloody. The bones in his hands and feet were all shattered. He lay on the ground, unable to move. seeing the character for slave branded onto his face. My laughter grew even more hearty. Ha ha. That slave brand suits you perfectly. Paize's gaze could devour a man. His fierce, resentful eyes locked onto mine. Gritting his teeth, he snarled. Lin Nua. You've been reborn too, haven't you? Clever. It's a bit late to realize it after suffering such severe injuries. I smiled with delight and nodded cheerfully. So, how does it feel to be betrayed? At those words, Paize erupted like a rabid beast. Rage consumed him, yet he lacked the strength to strike. His hands were now too weak even to lift his sword. Lin Nua. You've ruined me. I hate you. He lay sprawled on the ground, disheveled and filthy, a far cry from the regent's majesty of his past life. His emotions surged violently, causing him to spit out a mouthful of blood. Hate me? I slapped him hard across the face with my backhand, gripping his jaw as I stared at him expressionlessly. Paize, what right do you have to hate me? You slaughtered my entire family, forcing generations of loyal Lin clan members to die in a blizzard. What right do you have to hate me? This is retribution. Your death. Your entire family's death. It's all because of you. Blood trickled from Paize's lips as I flung him away. His will to survive was fierce. He wanted to live, to seek vengeance. Paize weakly grabbed my sleeve, his lips trembling as he whispered a plea, Nua Nua. I was wrong. Please forgive me. What happened in the past is over. You've already avenged what needed to be avenged. Can you spare my life? No. Why should I spare a scourge? I thrust my sword into his body, blood spattering instantly. He gave a muffled groan and let his head fall limply. This sword thrust avenges my entire Lin family. I thrust again, piercing his heart, my gaze icy as I watched him. This strike avenges myself for the injustice done to me. Paize, you deserve this. Stab after stab tore into his body, the stench of blood overwhelming. I washed my fingers clean and ordered servants to dump their corpses in the mass grave. The new emperor ascended the throne. Father donned the imperial yellow robe, seated upon the high throne as courtiers entered the hall to pay homage. My elder brother was promoted from junior general to grand general, continuing to defend Nanan City with his family. Father conferred upon me the title of regent princess, granting me authority to participate in court affairs. Years later, under Father's governance, the people lived in peace and prosperity, free from foreign invasion. Amidst this peaceful era, no one remembered that shameful past. Yet compared to commanding the court, I preferred wandering the land, experiencing the myriad facets of life and the hardships of the common folk, all to ensure the people truly lived well. For in my view, those in power must understand this truth. The people are the foundation of the empire. The end.